Welcome to the next episode of Scared Shitless, where we talk about the messy, the uncomfortable, the terrifying parts of building a life and doing it anyway. My name is Sarah Simajust, and I am your host. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that I feel like a lot of people can relate to, especially people who wear multiple hats. Have you ever gone to your kid's friend's birthday party, a networking event, or any events that you're talking to adults that you've never met before and you have to introduce yourself and people will ask you, what do you do? And you're just stuck. What do you mean, what do I do? At least that's how I think sometimes. Do you mean, what do I do to make a living? Do you mean, what do I do on a daily basis? Do you mean, what do I do that's my passion? And sometimes I feel like when people ask you that question, it's almost to put you in a box. It's almost to say, hey, what is your profession? What do you do for money? Then I'll know exactly, approximately how much you make, what do you do on a daily basis? And they kind of put you in this societal box. Like, okay, you're a government worker. You must make around 100 grand. You are, you work for retail, you must make X amount. And even though we do it subconsciously, we judge each person based on what they tell us they do. We already have an idea of approximately how much money they make and what their lifestyle is like. But the truth is that job doesn't define you. And for me, as a mom, technically, the primary thing that I do is I stay at home with my kids. That's what you ask me. If you ask me, that's what I spent most of my time doing. But I also work part-time. I'm also a speech language pathologist by trade, and I do that part-time. I have my private practice, and I work around my husband's schedule to practice. I'm also a real estate investor. That doesn't necessarily tell you exactly what I do on a daily basis. It doesn't tell you, okay, well, does she have buy and holds? Does she flip houses? Does she build? It doesn't really tell you much, right? So it's very hard when you tell somebody who is not in the real estate business for them to be like, what is that? And what does that even do? So sometimes you feel uncomfortable because you're like, well, then I'll have to explain. And a lot of times people think you're just rolling in money, which is not the case, right? So then I personally hesitate to tell people because I'm like, do you even know what that means? And now I have to explain to you. And I'm also a podcast host. And to tell the truth, that's more my passion. That's something that I really enjoy, speaking with other individuals who are grinding, who are really building a life that they feel is almost unachievable. They're going after their dreams, they're failing, they're meeting obstacles. And maybe they're entrepreneurs on the side. Maybe they do have a 9-to-5 at the same time. But it's really hard to answer that question when you wear so many different hats on a daily basis. So now what I do is that I actually take the time and sort of explain the multiple hats that I wear. And obviously it depends on the vibe, the length of the conversation, how interested I feel like the person is in what I have to say. But at the same time, I try to take pride in the many different hats that I wear. Yes, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Yes, I also work part-time as a speech therapist. Yes, I'm also a real estate investor and a land developer. And yes, I'm also a podcast host. And I feel like if more people took the time to explain those different hats, because let's face it, most people nowadays, they sort of have like a side hustle, or at least I feel like they do. It's cool to hear more about that because I feel like when we just hear what the person is doing 9-to-5, which is nothing wrong with doing that, only if that's what you want to do. But sometimes people have other interests that don't bring them money, but that's what they're most passionate about. And they spend a lot of time doing it too. So their actual daily job doesn't really tell you who they are. So if you are a person struggling with answering that question, what do you do? I think it's okay to take time to further explain and to say, well, My life is quite interesting. I wear many hats and go into it. And I'm not saying this is for everyone. Some people just rather keep their side hustles private or certain parts of their lives private. But I know personally, I feel like I no longer want to shy away from letting people know that I don't fit in a single box. I'm not just a professional or a stay-at-home mom or an entrepreneur. I am all of those things at once, depending on the day. And I do think that as a society, it's now more than ever, more and more important to describe yourself as not necessarily what you do, but what you love and the different hats that you wear. So if you are a person who always feels stuck or has trouble answering that question, you're not alone. And I am here to encourage you, to empower you to further explain the different hats that we wear and normalize it a little bit more. If you enjoy this episodes, you enjoy the contents of my podcast, please drop me a subscribe, drop me a like, comment. This will help me greatly, and it makes me feel like people are actually watching, and it encourages me to keep going. And also drop me a comment of other topics that you'll like to hear, any parts of my life. I'm pretty much an open book at this point, and I appreciate anybody who watches. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.